Also, thou son of man, the children of thy people still are talking against thee by the walls and in the doors of the houses, and speak one to another, everyone to his brother, saying, Come, I pray you, and hear what is the word that cometh forth from the Lord. And they come unto thee as the people cometh, and they sit before thee as my people, and they hear thy words, but they will not do them. For with their mouth they shew much love, but their heart goeth after their covetousness. And lo, thou art unto them as a very lovely song, as one that hath a pleasant voice, and can play well on an instrument. For they hear thy words, but they do them not. And when this cometh to pass, lo, it will come. Then shall they know that a prophet hath been among them. Ezekiel chapter 33, verse 30 to 33. Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Bracha, Kodash. Double honors to our venerable apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. And peace and blessings to the Lord's elect, the house of David. All right, so brother Haran coming back at you with another lesson. Lord willing to be edifying and uplifting unto the elect. All right, and coming back at you again, all right, with some more information going into the one last major prophecy that we always go into, which is the prophecy of the MOTB. All right, and we say the last major prophecy, and it's close because all we hearing constantly is this whole thing with this Iran situation. All right, Israel, Iran, right, the Babylon the Great. All right, and these are all major countries pertaining to biblical prophecy, leading into Armageddon, otherwise known as World War III. Okay, so we're seeing, all right, the chess pieces being moved. All right, so we know that we are very, very, very much close to the end. As the Lord says, right, you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. All right, these are signs of the end, but the end is not yet. That means there's something else that has to happen before that end come. Okay, and that something is in the book of Revelation chapter 13 and verse 16. It says that he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. So that, as you know, starting from our elders and apostles of Great Millstone on down, all these years, that major prophecy, that mark of the beast prophecy, right, has been broken down. And the understanding to that, the fulfillment of this prophecy is the radio frequency identification chip. Now, you got other camps that say, oh, it's anything but that. But the thing is, this is prophecy, okay? This is prophecy, meaning it's said before it actually happens, okay? That's why the Lord Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, sends his prophets out there, all right, the men to go out there and speak on these things, right? We come in the name of Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, and we prophesy, we say these things before they happen to give warning. As the Lord told Ezekiel, all right, give them warning from me. So we've been warning of this microchip, all right, all right, which is the fulfillment of the mark of the beast. These other camps are saying all these other things, which is crazy, but they're saying it because the Lord is using these camps to sift out those that he doesn't want. All right, because the elect know what the mark of the beast is. Those who are not of the elect, they don't know what it is, or they probably sold out. Okay, but this RFID chip lines up perfectly with prophecy. Okay, because it came out shortly after the prophets, starting with Elder Rabbi Abba Bivens, popped up on the scene. All right, in 1960s, 70s, late 60s, early 70s. Okay, so you got what 57, almost 60 years. All right, almost 60 years, man. And the C-Hip started coming out on the scene, all right, about 50 years ago. Okay, so shortly after the truth came out, this prophecy started to kick in. And we're at the very last end of it for it to be fulfilled. Okay, now, for those who take the C-Hip, all right, because it's prophecy, so that means it's going to happen. All right, whether people break it down wrong or they don't see it or they sold out not to see it, right? The prophecy is the RFID CHIP is going to be made mandatory upon the face of the earth. And anyone, especially if you're in Babylon the Great, if you take it, you're going to be destroyed by thermonuclear fire. Point blank, period. Okay? Now, it also talks about a grievous sore, right? Let's get that real quick. In the book of Revelation, chapter 16, I start from verse 1. It says, "And I heard a great voice out of the temple saying to the 7 angels, Go your ways and pour out the vials of the wrath of the Most High upon the earth." Okay? It says, "The first went and poured out his vial upon the earth, and there fell a noisome and grievous sore upon the men which had the mark of the beast, and upon them which worshipped his image." Okay? So when you read that in the NLT, it says, "So the first angel left the temple and poured out his bowl of the earth, and horrible malignant sores broke out on everyone who had the mark of the beast and who worshipped his statue." Okay, so let's go into some information. All right, and this is coming from a very credible source. All right, it says National Library of Medicine. All right, National Center for Biotechnology Information. All right, because we are living in the biotechnological age. All right, hence you have what we're going to go into known as biohacking. All right, so it says biohacking and CHIP implantation in the human hand, an introduction. So again, it lines up perfectly with prophecy. And nowhere in this article or in this reading are we going to see the word sin and all its various forms, both political and religious. You're not going to see that. You're not going to see that. All right, but you are going to see things that we can relate to prophecy, specifically in the book of Revelation, the 13th chapter we just read. All right, and it lines up perfectly with prophecy to the T. Let's read. Biohacking is a term used to describe people making changes to their bodies to improve their well-being. This includes the implantation of radio frequency identification implants. This technology for wireless communication is already incorporated into our daily lives, as in the use of contactless payment and badges to open doors. Okay, so that's your access point right there. All right, it says, since the first radio frequency identification implantation in a human in 1998, so right before the year 2000. Okay, it says the possibilities of this technology have dramatically increased, and the number of persons that have been CHIPed is growing, right? Because it's to fulfill biblical prophecy. Okay, it says the hand seems to be the most popular body part. It says to implant these CHIPs because it can easily be positioned close to a reader. So that is precisely what John the Revelator saw. Okay, in Revelation 13, verse 16. Let's get that again. All right, it's not sin in all its various forms. All right. Revelation 13:16 says, "And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead." So John saw, all right, this actually playing out, and that's what's being written here. He's seeing the future. The future is playing out as John is writing it down, and he's writing down what he's seeing. So everything that's happening now is something that plays out in the future, the very near future. Okay, so we're reading prophecy. We're reading about John seeing people taking CHIPs in their hands. This article is saying people have dramatically taken it. The hand seems to be the most popular body part to implant these CHIPs because it can easily be positioned close to a reader. So that's why John saw people putting it in their hands. All right. Currently, implantation is typically not performed in a medical environment. However, implantation of these devices in humans can result in complications such as infection and tendon attrition, and the relevant safety implications have not been extensively studied. It says the scope of this review was to inform the hand surgeon community about the existence of these implants, why they are used, and to open the debate about the possible future role, okay, of the hand surgeon, all right, in safely implanting these devices and dealing with possible complications. Okay, it says keywords: biohacking, CHIP, hand, implant, RFID. I mean, damn, bro. All right, like it's right there. It's right there. Okay. Let me read a little bit about this. It's a quite a lengthy article, but it's good stuff. All right. It says biohacking refers to using biology with the mindset of a hacker to enhance your body and life. Okay, so they're basically telling you that, look, this is all Genesis playing all over again. All right. Eating the fruit. Oh, that's not. Oh no, it's gonna make you wise. It's gonna make you what? It's gonna make you a good God. You're gonna be like the Most High. You see. So this is the same mindset. They're given this illusion of augmentation, right? Like, oh, we can make you better than what the Most High did, right? The Most High he clearly did something wrong, right? Look, you can't live forever. He's promising that to the Israelites, but what about us? See, let's create our own immortality, but via artificial means. What a clown. Okay, what a complete clown. You do realize that there's a greater power that could destroy your artificial creation. Don't you understand that part? And he's going to show you. All right. So your days are numbered. And that's why you devils are moving in such desperation. But that's all biblical prophecy. Hurry up and make your move, man. All right. It says this includes commonly used applications on your smartphone or wearables that measure whether you are getting enough sleep. Enough exercise during the day or how well you sleep. Okay, so that's going into your Fitbits and all that. All right, we've talked about that in the past and how prevalent they are in society. Like, it's part of the culture. You know what I'm saying? They're tying this type of technology into, a culture movement. It's like a status symbol. It's kind of like having an iPhone. It's like a status symbol kind of thing, So Esau is using this thing deceptively to make it like Tesla. You're driving a Cybertruck. It's like a status symbol. As ugly as those things are, people drive them shits around. And they stand out, but not in a good way, but they think it's cool. It's like, oh, high tech, like my car could drive itself, like, da. Yeah. It says on the other end of the spectrum, there's human augmentation. It says augmentation refers to adding elements to the body, for example, electronics. The goal is to upgrade your body by creating a symbiosis between the human body and technology. Okay? Upgrading your body. We can make you... Wow, that's crazy. It says most popular is the implantation of radio frequency identification implants. Similar to many technologies, RFID owes its origins to the Second World War when it was invented to differentiate between enemy and friendly aircraft using radar. Okay, so it could track you. But yet they said, oh no, it doesn't have any GPS. Yeah, okay. So why create it in the first place? It uses a microchip attached to an antenna that passively reacts to an incoming signal of its reader using a shared magnetic field. Hence, there is no need for batteries because you are the battery. All right. It says they do not actively emit radio frequency signals such as Bluetooth or Wi-Fi devices. For the past 50 years, this technology has been incorporated into our daily lives, as in the use of contactless payment or ID badges to open doors. Okay. The use in healthcare is expanding. All right. Look no further than RFK and his buddy Dr. Oz. All right. They're starting to push that that RFID. They're starting off with the wearable rhetoric, and then Dr. Oz is now coming in with the implantable rhetoric. So it's already in the healthcare. They've been passed. All right. The FDA approved. All right. This thing called VeriChip back in 2004. Okay, so they've already laid down the groundwork. It's not a matter of, well, when the time comes, the FDA might not even. No. No. They're going to approve it. It's going to go to the Supreme Court. They're going to rule it. It's going to be part of the system, and then it's just going to go from there, because it's biblical prophecy. All right, it causeth all. That's what it says. It says the use in healthcare is expanding, including tracking of medical equipment, instruments, and drugs. In veterinary medicine, the implantation of RFID C-hips to identify animals has been part of standard care for decades. Okay? And that was to get people accustomed to that. See, now it's going to shift to the humans. All right? It says Professor Kevin Warwick, all right, Warlock, was the first human to undergo RFID implant. Of course, Warwick. Okay? The war. Oh, man. See, these devils are making war. All right, the wicked is making war against the Most High and his saints. All right, because when you go into all this, they go into eugenics and all that. It's all part of what? Doing away with the children of Israel, man. All right. It says here. Let me see, where did I stop off at? It says one survey of 2,000 people in the United Kingdom and the European Union stated that 51% would consider the implantation of an RFID chip in their hand as a contactless payment method, buy or sell, in their right hand or in their foreheads. No man buy or sell. Contactless payment method. It's a method. Other possible features of RFID implants include opening doors and access to medical and Vanessa records, point blank, period. Okay, they're tying it into the system. The essential things you do in this system is being tied to the use of this RFID chip. Okay, it is estimated that between 50,000 to 100,000 people already have been C-hipped, and it's in the millions by now. Because time is moving fast. Technology is expanding. All right, technology is evolving quickly. Look at the use of AI. Okay, so things are speeding up to fit and to fulfill biblical prophecy. All right. It says here, the implantation of these devices in humans and the relevant safety implications have not been extensively studied. The scope of this review was to consider the future role of the hand surgeon in placing these implants and dealing with possible complications. So there you have it. That's all literally in the verbiage of prophecy. All right, hand surgeon, implanting. All right. Now check this out. Check this out, right? This is going to give you the description, okay, of what is written in hold on. What is written in verse 16. Okay, when we go into the words, as a matter of fact, we're going to do that. All right, we always do, but we're going to do it again. All right, we're going to do it again. All right, so let's read. It says implant types and location. It says there are two main types of C-hips that are implanted. The first type is a small tube-shaped glass cylinder that can be injected into the subcutaneous, meaning under skin, tissue using a preloaded syringe. Ooh! What's that? What's that preloaded syringe? In the book of Revelation, that preloaded syringe goes into the word mark. Okay? Where it says that he calls the Lord both small and great. Mark. That word mark goes into the Greek word charagma. Charagma is the implant itself. Okay, it says a stamp, an imprinted mark. Okay? It says of the mark stamped on the forehead or the right hand as the badge of the followers of the Antichrist. All right, now when it says the follower of the Antichrist, is basically talking about those who are in this system and of this system. All right, that you want a job, right? The things that this world offers you, you're not gonna partake in it unless you're part of the world by literally putting the C-hip in you. Okay, you've pledged your allegiance, right? The mark branded upon horses, in this case humans, thin carved, sculpture, graven work. Okay, so when you go into that word, the root word of charagma, you get the word charax, which says a pale or stake, a palisade. Okay, a pale or a stake or a palisade. When you go down a little bit more, it says what? A rampart, right? To sharpen to a point. Ooh. All right, the idea of scratching. All right, so let's read some more. Preloaded syringe. That syringe is that charax. Okay. It says the second type is a larger, flat, rectangular implant that requires a more extensive incision to place the implant. Optimal implantation technique and location have not been established yet. Most frequently, an RFID C-hip is implanted in the dorsal web space between the first and second metacarpal. Okay, so that's between your thumb and your index finger. right? That space right there, that web, right? That web space, they call it. Dorsal web space. Okay? So, just like John was seeing, okay? It says alternative anatomic locations for C-hip implantation have been suggested between each metacarpal and dorsally over the first phalanx of each finger. It is advised not to place glass implants within 5 millimeters of each other or within 5 millimeters of bone to minimize the risk of shattering. So that's exactly what John saw. It was a specific place that this device was placed, okay, which is the right hand, right? Some people are going to take it in the left hand, but in Revelation 14 it talks about the hand. So if you take it, you're done. And what is the it? The it is the C-hip. And what is the C-hip in prophecy? The RFID, the MOTB, mark of the beast. Simple. It says also C-hip that the chips that operate on the same frequency should be placed at 5 centimeters apart to avoid interference. Now, here's the good part. Let's read. It says, an RFID chip is considered a foreign body, currently most often introduced by non-medical professionals such as tattoo artists. This raises concerns or questions about the sterility of such procedures. Now, remember, John also saw that those who took the C-hip got something known as the Noisome and Grievous sore. Okay? So, let's keep reading. It says, similar to other medical devices, because remember, sin cannot give you a noisome and grievous sore. It can't do that. All right? It says here, such as, it says this raises, we read that. It says, similar to other medical devices, the implantation of an RFID C-hip carries the risk of a foreign body related infection. A variety of microorganisms may be involved as pathogens, of which Staphylococcus aureus is the most frequent. All right, I believe that's known as a staph infection. Okay, so we're going to look a little bit more into that word. All right, Staphylococcus aureus. There you go, Staphylococcus aureus. All right, it says the S. aureus has the ability to adhere to materials and form a biofilm, making removal of the foreign body often inevitable because of the ineffectiveness of antibiotic treatment alone. If neglected, delayed diagnosis of hand infections can result in poor outcomes with functional deficits. Man, that is simply, what's that? Poor outcomes with functional deficits is literally, or basically, newspeak / political correctness / double speak way of saying the person is not going to be able to perform their normal duties because something is hindering them from doing it. Now, if you're walking around and you got this noisome, grievous sore on you, which we're going to go into, Staphylococcus aureus, all right, trust me, you're not going to be, your functional, you're going to definitely have deficits in your functional abilities. All right. It says, we found one case report describing a foreign body related infection after implantation of an RFID C-hip that was adequately treated with implant removal and antibiotic therapy. Now remember, once this is made mandatory, ain't going to be no removal. Removing is going to be a crime. So at that point, you took it so you don't be looked at as a criminal. And now you want to take it out, which if you do take it out, now you are going to be known as a criminal. So now what? You're going back to square one? Why did you even take it in the first place? So you're still going to be destroyed. All right. So it says, so now I want to highlight this Staphylococcus aureus. All right, let's look into that and what it is. All right, it says Staphylococcus aureus, otherwise known as S. aureus, causes noisy, which is pus-filled, foul-smelling, and grievous, which is severe and painful sores when bacteria enter the skin, after often forming abscesses, boils, or cellulitis. all right, or cellulitis. Okay, it says these infections require medical attention to avoid spreading, all right, which may lead to fever, chills, or severe life-threatening complications if they enter the bloodstream. Okay, so that Staphylococcus aureus, all right, John saw it as the noisome and grievous sore. Now, when you go to Revelation 16 and verse 1, it says, "And I heard a great voice out of the temple saying to the seven angels, Go your ways and pour out the vials of the wrath of the Most High upon the earth. And the first went and poured out his vial upon the earth, and there fell a noisome and grievous sore, okay, upon the men which had the mark of the beast, and upon them which worshipped his image." Okay, so that noisome and grievous sore, when you look into that, all right, we're going to go into the word noisome, all right, kakos. In the Greek, it says of a bad nature, not such as it ought to be. It says troublesome, injurious, pernicious, destructive, baneful. It says here, let me see here, injurious, bad, evil, harm, ill, noisome, wicked. All right. So now we're going to go right back to grievous. Poneras, right? Full of labors, annoyances, hardships, bringing toils, annoyances, perils. It says bad, of a bad nature or condition. Check this out. In a physical sense, diseased or blind. Okay? Diseased, right? A noisome and grievous sore. Grievous. Let's go into that definition again. Staphylococcus aureus causes noisy, which is pus-filled, foul-smelling, and grievous, severe, painful. All right, severe or painful sores when bacteria enter the skin, often forming abscesses, boils, or cellulitis. Okay, so those are those pathogens, is what they call it. The scientific versions of it. Now you go into that word sore. Okay, the word sore is helkas. In the Greek, it says a wound, especially a wound producing a discharged pus, a sore, an ulcer. Okay, so just in the very word that John saw, we know it today scientifically as Staphylococcus aureus. All right, Staphylococcus aureus. All right, which is, once again, a pus-filled, foul-smelling, severely painful sore, right, when bacteria enter the skin, and is known as what? It causes a noisy and grievous sore. Literally pus-filled, which is the noisy part, right? Pus-filled, foul-smelling, and grievous going into what? Severely painful. Okay, helkas in the Greek. All right, for the word sore in Revelation 16 and verse 2. Okay, a wound producing a discharged pus. Okay, a wound. Let's read that. A wound producing a discharged pus, a sore, an ulcer. Okay. Now, when you read the symptoms of the Staphylococcus sore, it says appearance is red, swollen, and warm bumps that look like pimples, boils, or abscesses. It says discharge, pus or drainage from the sore, often with a foul odor. That's exactly what the scripture said. That's exactly what John saw. All right, this is a side effect of taking the C-hip literally in your body. Okay, similar to other medical devices, the implantation of an RFID C-hip carries the risk of a foreign body-related infection. Okay, the variety of microorganisms may be involved as pathogens, of which Staphylococcus aureus is most frequent. And what are symptoms of Staphylococcus sore? It appears red, swollen, warm bumps that look like pimples, boils, or abscesses. It has discharge, pus, or drainage from the sore, often with a foul odor. Sensation, significant pain, tenderness, and heat in the affected area. Okay? Whew. Progression, spreading redness, crusty blisters. That is known as impetigo, or cellulitis, which is deep skin infection. God, oh. All right? So literally, what John saw is literally what this thing is the prophecy of the MOTB prophesied in the book of John, what John saw, all right, is playing out in today's day and age right now, literally as he saw. Remember, he saw the future, and the future is now, so it's all playing out as he saw. All right, so, hey, in due time, a very short time, the Lord's going to reveal all this. And guess what's going to happen? When I say reveal in the sense of manifest it, what's going to happen is all these other camps I've been saying, all this crazy shit, scripture says, then shall they know that a prophet have been among them. Okay? Then shall they know that a prophet have been among them. Our elders and apostles of Great Millstone have been talking about this for years, prophesying about the MOTB prophecy for years. And now we're in the days, all right, leading to the days where this thing is made mandatory. All right? This thing is going to pop out and it's going to be made mandatory, man. And those who take it, you already know what the judgment is going to be. All right? Revelation chapter 16, verse 2, it says, and the first went and poured out his vial upon the earth, and there fell a noisome and grievous sore upon the men which had the mark of the beast, and upon them which worshipped his image. All right? So there's no way around this, man. Sin is not going to cause this kind of grievous sore where you got all these boils and pus smelling odors and all this shit. Nigga, stop. All right? But this thing here, right, this MOTB, the Rfid hip, it literally has it carries the risk of a foreign body related infection, Staphylococcus aureus. All right. So that's that. All right. That's that. But anyway, I'm going to end off there. Lord willing, you edified and informed. In closing, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachak Kodash, the water Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. Until next time, Shalom.